Eunice Newton Foote, July 17, 1819 to September 30, 1888. Eunice Newton Foote was born in July 17, 1819, died on September 30, 1888. Was an American scientist, inventor, and women's rights campaigner. She was the first scientist to conclude that certain gases warmed when exposed to sunlight, and that rising carbon dioxide levels would change atmospheric temperature and could affect climate. Born in Connecticut, Foote was raised in New York at the center of social and political movements of her day, such as the abolition of slavery, anti-alcohol activism, and women's rights. She attended the Troy Female Seminary and the Rensselaer School from age 17 to 19, gaining a broad education in scientific theory and practice. After marrying an attorney in 1841, Foote settled in Seneca Falls, New York. She was a signatory to the Declaration of Sentiments and one of the editors of the proceedings of the 1848 Seneca Falls Convention, the first gathering to treat women's rights as its sole focus. In 1856, she published a paper notable for demonstrating the absorption of heat by Colorado II and water vapor and hypothesizing that changing amounts of Colorado II in the atmosphere would alter the climate. It was the first known publication in a scientific journal by a woman in the field of physics. She published a second paper in 1857, on static electricity in atmospheric gases. Although she was not a member of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, both her papers were read at the organization's annual conferences. These were the only papers in the field of physics to be written by an American woman until 1889. She went on to patent several inventions. Foote died in 1888, and for almost 100 years her contributions were unknown, before being rediscovered by women academics in the 20th century. In the 21st century, new interest in Foote arose when it was realized that her work predated discoveries made by John Tyndall, who had been recognized by scientists as the first person to experimentally show the mechanism of the greenhouse effect involving infrared radiation. Detailed examination of her work by modern scientists has confirmed that 3 years before Tyndall published his paper in 1859, Foote discovered that water vapor and CO2 absorb heat from sunlight. Furthermore, her view that variances in the atmospheric levels of water vapor and CO2 would result in climate change preceded Tyndall's 1861 publication by 5 years. Because of the limits of her experimental design, and possibly a lack of knowledge of infrared radiation, Foote did not examine or detect the absorption and emission of radiant energy within the thermal infrared range, which is the cause of the greenhouse effect. In 2022, the American Geophysical Union instituted the Eunice Newton Foote Medal for Earth Life Science in her honor to recognize outstanding scientific research.